Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sister Sister, a podcast for spiritual baddies. Something I did not say in the last episode, but you should know that we are very much aware of what we're doing here. We are your hosts, Elle and Amaya, and today we're talking about dressing as your Lilith sign. And if you remember, we talked about dressing as your Venus sign last season. So we're trying to pick up the pace with more astrology related topics.
Yeah, so I love astrology and I think your Lilith sign, because it's not like an actual planet or necessarily like point. It's kind of just like a point that is made up in the sky is and it is your Lilith, it's your black moon. But we'll get into what it is and then talk a little bit about it. But your Lilith is usually like what you struggle with. So we are going to talk about that with each sign and how you should dress. So what is your Lilith sign, Amaya?
Yes. So the Black Moon Lilith sign in your chart, birth chart reveals what you are most ashamed of or uncomfortable with in terms of your personality. It's difficult for you to express this part of yourself, and it can make you uncomfortable whether when other people express these traits openly and freely when you yourself cannot.
Do you know what your Lilith sign is?
I'm actually looking it up, so I have my birth chart written out from Cafe Astrology. So let me look at it real quick.
I'm not sure that Cafe Astrology puts the Lilith sign on there. I know
I have,
Access does.
it
So,
does. Mine is in Sagittarius.
okay. I think
Yeah,
mine's Capricorn, but I'm gonna double check real quick, then we'll continue.
yeah, no worries. So in the meantime, while L checks, mine is uncomfortable. My uncomfortability is the fact that I am ashamed for curiosity, questioning, and restlessness, and the need to challenge life facts and beliefs or to seek meaning, which I find very true because I feel like as a child, considering that I was mature for my age, I also had a lot of curiosity, and I feel like when your parents know that you're a little mature for your age and you start asking questions or worrying about things that you don't need to be worrying about, they're probably going to be like, why are you worrying about that? So, yeah. One time, for example, I I was like a 5 or 6, and I noticed my mom didn't have a lot of gas in her car, and I told her, "Don't we need gas?" And she's like, "Why are you worried about gas? Like, what 6-year-old worries about gas?" So, I mean, that's a very minimal example, but
So mine is in Capricorn, and basically I'll just read you what AstroSeek says. Absolute loneliness, doubts about knowledge. These people are afraid of failure and that they are, oh wait, these people are afraid of failure, so that makes them very responsible. When they start doing something, they want to finish it at all costs. They feel that in order to manage everything they do, they have to put their feelings aside. They often seem cold and reserved. They have a problem with authority. LOL.
yeah,
They are
sounds about
afraid
right.
that people might like reject them. However, in reality, they are very vulnerable and emotional. The way out is through your opposite sign as well, which my opposite is Cancer, being more
Mine would be
small.
Gemini. So, yeah.
Yeah, so to find your Lilith sign, you can go to an astrology website like I just did, AstroSeek, or it's also on Cafe Astrology. Put in your birth date, time, and your location, and it will bring it up for you.
So now you know a little bit more about us and our deepest, darkest fears.
Oh, it just called me out so hard.
Yeah.
So I wonder if I struggle with authority because of my Lilith sign or because of the neurodivergent diagnoses.
Well, now you have two things to back you up. Anyway, um, let's get right into each of the Lilith signs. Elle, do you want to start?
Yeah, so we're gonna start with Aries, as we always do on these kinds of portions of podcasts. So, Aries Lilith, we're going to start with what you struggle with. So, you're going to struggle with asserting yourself. You see those who have the confidence to unapologetically take the lead and make executive decisions without checking with others first as selfish and wrong. You don't like to focus on yourself or make any like autonomous decisions. So, you're not a person that does well with like hyper independence or things like that. So, what you should wear. You have to learn to be okay with standing out. To do so, you should try some bolder accessories to start, then move out of the neutrals into bolder colors and more form-fitting clothing. If you're an Aries Lilith, you're probably more attracted to baggy clothes and neutrals, and the goal is to overcome your Lilith whenever you're dressing with as your Lilith sign. So, you want to make new, bolder fashion choices that are going to be based on growth. And some celebrities with this were Michael Jackson, Justin Bieber, Kurt Cobain, Katy Perry, Scarlett Johansson, Prince Harry, Prince, Meryl Streep, and Kate Winslet.
Very interesting because we talked about Katy Perry having a Sagittarius Venus, and she definitely, I feel like, has overcome her Lilith by wearing bold and bright things. So, yeah, you see, look at. I also think maybe you should also check out our Dressing as Your Venus Sign podcast episode because you can see how each of the Venus signs look best in. So maybe seeing other Venus sign celebrities, you can model your wardrobe, your outfits by them. Obviously, you do not have to pay extraneous amounts of prices for them, but just look to them for inspiration.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of times what your Venus sign is that you should dress as is also related to like what you struggle with as your Lilith sign. Because like I have a Libra Venus and I'm supposed to be like trendy, and my Capricorn is in Lilith, and I struggle with.
It's so funny you say that because I'm a Gemini rising and my Lilith is in Sagittarius. So I can't wait to hear what mine says. But anyway, Taurus Lilith, what you struggle with. So signs with Lilith and Taurus are ashamed of self-indulgence. You struggle with self-care and doing things for yourself. For example, you'd rather go gift shopping for friends than buy that new body wash you've been eyeing for the past month, which is crazy because Taurus is all about indulgence. As a Taurus moon, I know. What you should wear. Since Taurus Lilith rarely treats themselves, an act of shopping for you is a step in the right direction. However, Taurus Lilith should also focus more on a dark academia vibe that will boost their confidence and help them to feel intelligent. They often get bogged down by overthinking about what others think about them and how they perceive them. So going for a confident, intelligent look will help Taurus Lilith break free. And if you've noticed we've been stuttering, it's still Mercury retrograde when we are filming these episodes, so we apologize. I'm sorry. Needless to say, celebs with Taurus and Lilith: Lady Gaga, Kanye West, Lana Del Rey, Nicole Kidman, Shakira, Gigi Hadid, Will Smith, Megan Thee Stallion, Celine Dion, Ryan Reynolds, and Bruno Mars. I have to say that Lana Del Rey definitely has a dark academia vibe going on. She always has. So I would say look to her for her style. She definitely also has that old money vibe too. So in our last episode we talked about how Taurus Venus has that old money look. So look
Very,
also at,
very similar.
yeah, just look to the Venus sign as well.
So, Gemini Lilith, what you struggle with. Those with Lilith and Gemini are afraid of speaking too much or too little. You worry about how you'll be perceived by others. Am I coming across as too smart? Am I not smart enough? You fear you're constantly being judged, so you try to stay on neutral ground and avoid taking a stance on things whenever possible. So, what you should wear, Gemini Lilith, much like Taurus Lilith, needs to find confidence in what they're wearing. Things like power suits may be at the top of their list when trying to break free from their Lilith curse. Gemini Lilith should focus on speaking through their clothes, whether that's dressing for the job you want, not the job you have, or adding in pieces of clothing that show your interest for more like of casual settings, so like a band tee or a graphic tee that like is something that you like. And some celebs with this placement are Robert Pattinson, Megan Fox, Mariah Carey, Timothy Chalamet, Drake, Kendall Jenner, Joe Biden, Lindsay Lohan, Orlando Bloom, and Dua Lipa. I thought Joe Biden was interesting on that one.
Me too. That's really interesting.
I feel like though, like political figures all wear the same thing all the time. So
Yeah, I mean, we don't really get to see them in regular everyday clothes unless they're no longer the president. But even Barack Obama, he still dresses really good as
yeah.
a not as a former president. So, yeah. Up next is Cancer Lilith. So what you struggle with. Those with Lilith and Cancer fear being perceived as needy or emotional. You seek to be seen as strong and independent and will never admit to when you need help. You also have a tendency to look down on those who aren't afraid to express their needs to others. You should try to have a bold or assertive look. Your fashion choices should lean more into an emotional side. So, this might mean leaning into more pastels or feminine colors like pink. You should also focus on things that make you feel comfortable, like big sweaters and oversized t shirts. So, celebs with this placement include Jennifer Aniston, Elvis Presley, Jay Z, Zac Efron, Tom Holland, Ashton Kutcher, Gwen Stefani, Jimi Hendrix, Naomi Campbell, and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, so with Cancer, like you don't want to come off as too strong. You don't want to be too bold. You want to be kind of more that like Cancer is a water sign. It's very like go with the flow, lovey. We always say Cancers are too emotional. That's like the stereotype. But when you have your Lilith in Cancer, you want to be a little more emotional and vulnerable.
Just think of being like a teddy bear.
Yeah. So next we have Leo Lilith. So what you struggle with, those with Lilith and Leo are ashamed of drawing too much attention to themselves. Even if deep down you crave the spotlight from time to time, you won't allow yourself the privilege of getting it. Compliments make you feel uncomfortable and you often repress your natural human need for praise. So with your Lilith sign, kind of that like curse or what you struggle with is the opposite of what that sign actually stands for. So you get uncomfortable by like what that sign normally stands for. So what you should wear, much like Aries, Lilith, you should focus on bolder colors and more dramatic silhouettes. Maybe save the money to splurge on a luxury item for yourself, as well as add to your collection, like to add more to your collection. To overcome your Lilith, you have to get used to all eyes being on you. So being very bold, having those luxury items every now and then, whether it's a bag or a belt or something, that's very indicative of Leo style. And some celebs are Barack Obama, Marilyn Monroe, Rihanna, Jennifer Lopez, Heath Ledger, Uma Thurman, Zendaya, Adele, Bella Hadid, Blake Lively, Haley Baldwin, and Melania Trump.
I'm shocked Jennifer Lopez has a Lilith in Leo, considering her sun signs in Leo, and she loves being the center of attention.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
it's very conflicting.
Very.
One of the I did like a website for these where it shows you the celeb's entire chart. Yeah.
Oh,
So I was like looking at everyone. I like put in like the placement I was looking for. So like Lilith and Leo, and it brought me a list, but then I could click on the people and it would show me their whole chart.
oh, that's interesting. I feel like we should do a roast on celebrities for funsies,
I
not.
already have that like in the back of my head for season 4.
Oh,
We're
okay.
just like
Well,
examining celebrity charts, like
a light roast. It's supposed to be all good and fun, not that they would care anything about what we have to say. Virgo Lilith. So, what you struggle with, those with Lilith and Virgo don't want to be seen as too practical. Shocking. You want to be seen as someone extraordinary who doesn't stick to routines or the status quo. You try not to focus too much on details, even if you're stressing about them underneath your cool exterior, and want to appear casually thrown together without much thought or worry. In terms of fashion, you tend to go to the extremes in trend setting, choosing impractical, uncomfortable clothes just to stand out. You may even be mixing up your style a little too much just to be seen as different. So instead of focusing so much on how you're perceived by others, you should choose an item not because of how it makes you look, but how it makes you feel. Wearing a cozy sweater on a snowy winter morning, albeit practical, is also comfortable and warm. Lean into the practical with your clothing to help heal your Lilith. That's shocking.
yeah,
So,
it's like the
celeb,
opposite of what you think when you think of the sign is, you struggle with what that sign actually stands for.
I know that's so crazy. So, celebs in with this placement include Kylie Jenner, Kourtney Kardashian, Emma Stone, Pink, Adam Levine, Camila Cabello. I almost messed her name up. ASAP Rocky, Vanessa Hudgens, Jason Momoa, and Channing Tatum. It's so funny to me that the Jenner Kardashian sisters tend to share similar placements because they're all different in their own way, but also similar.
So next we have Libra Lilith. So what you struggle with is those with Lilith and Libra have an issue with needing people. So you feel ashamed whenever you naturally seek companionship or approval from others, and you can easily be irritated by or envious of those who are able to openly accept compliments and praise and really have those kind of like personal connections even on like a surface level. So, what you should wear when it comes to what you're wearing, you probably often shy away from coordinating outfits with other people. Even if it's just color coordinating for an event, you will find a lot of healing in this. So, you also probably should lean into outfits that make you feel more playful or flirty as well, because we know Libra is a very playful sign. That will differ from person to person, but Lilith in Libra is all about learning to properly foster connections with others, both platonic and romantic. So, like, if you have your Libra and Lilith and your bestie in college is like, let's do a matching Halloween costume, you might be like, oh, no, no thanks, no thanks. And then that's what you actually should be doing. So, some celebs are Kim Kardashian, Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz, Justin Timberlake, Oprah Winfrey, Whitney Houston, Tom Hiddleston, Shawn Mendes, Bob Marley, and Daniel Radcliffe.
So, what you struggle with, those with Lilith and Scorpio struggle with intimacy. You tend to feel ashamed when the natural urge for human attachment and deep connection arise, and you can be very closed off and often hide your passions from others. So, you need to embrace your own sexual energy when it comes to healing a Scorpio Lilith. Much like a Venus in Scorpio, you should focus on lace, leather, or latex and darker colors in your wardrobe. A traditional beggar style may suit you, or finding the embodiment of a dark feminine in your wardrobe. What a word. So, this list of celebrities include Taylor Swift, Johnny Depp, Beyonce, Eminem, Chris Evans, Emma Watson, Natalie Portman, Kristen Stewart, Paris Hilton, Ryan Gosling, and Margot Robbie. This list is pretty accurate, I have to say. I've seen a lot of these celebrities in leather, latex, or lace.
So, I have thoughts on this, specifically for Taylor Swift, right? So, she is doing the Eras tour right now. And if you look through, her kind of discography and where Reputation happened and where she kind of like was wearing all this dark clothing that really focuses on her Scorpio Lilith was really a turning point in her music career. Like everything that came after that was, we were in quarantine for some of it, but like a lot of the stuff that came afterwards, I think was kind of like her breaking free after, her music and that whole situation with the rights to her music and stuff. And that's why she's now doing Taylor's version. So I feel like her healing her Lilith sign during that period, wearing those kinds of clothings and things like that, becoming more comfortable with that was kind of like a turning point for her. So I just thought that was interesting. As I was like thinking about it, I was like, yeah, that's kind of like when everything flipped for her was after Reputation.
Yeah, I definitely saw that there was a change, especially because the earlier Taylor Swift albums, like I don't know the names of albums, so whenever she first came out, it was the song is playing in my head, but she basically sings about a love story. That's the name of the song. She was very much Nashville, Tennessee pop country princess. It was very light. She was not in her Reputation era. So basically, I think that a lot of times we can see celebrities go through these transitions, and whether or not they believe in astrology, they probably are healing some part of themselves. So obviously, they're not going to go outright and say it, but clearly there are things in their life that affect them that cause them to want to change.
Yeah, I
So
just think out of like everyone that we put with like their Lilith signs, hers is like very much so you saw that transition happen in real time. It's like
yeah, yeah.
crazy. So we'll move on to Sagittarius Lilith now. So, what you struggle with, those with Sagittarius Lilith struggle with expressing their natural curiosity. You tend to repress your need to question life or those around you. You may also stifle any need for adventure and struggle with feelings of restlessness because you are so opposed to the idea of change. So, what you should wear. The main goal should be to deviate from what is considered your everyday look. Try new trends, lean into more powerful silhouettes while still finding fabric that is comfortable. The main thing is to heal yourself by being okay with change. And some celebs are Michelle Obama and Donald Trump, both have this placement. Brad Pitt, Britney Spears, Nicki Minaj, Freddie Mercury, Jennifer Lawrence, Audrey Hepburn, Cher, and Heidi Klum. How do you
Oh
feel?
my God. I feel attacked, but also seen because having a both fixed sign sun and fixed sign moon placement, I struggle with change. I hate change. I hate the idea of things being different. Obviously, there comes a point where you have to lean in with the change and know it'll be better for your life. But um yeah, I always felt like in certain friend groups that I have, I couldn't be my full self because I feel like if I was, they were gonna judge me. Like I didn't feel like comfortable. Obviously, with Elle, I'm very comfortable with, being myself because she's just as weird as I am. So
Soul Sisters.
yeah, we're literally soul sisters. So I've never felt the need to like change myself to be friends with Elle. And I think she's one of the very few friends that I have where I feel like I can be myself without judgment. Um, and I think with many of the friendships I have had, a lot of it was kind of conforming to this idea they had of me versus what I'm intended to become. So there's a little more about that. Without giving too much away about my life, I recently struggled with a friendship where a person treated me not so good. And when I addressed another friend about it, I guess they kind of expected me to sit and take it, but that's not me. And I'm not that person that will sit and take someone's crap. So ultimately, the friendship ended. And obviously, it sucks. I hate losing friends, but long story short, you have to realize that part of growing up is realizing that you need to be around people that heal you, not hurt you. So that's our little story time for today.
I
But yeah,
also think it's funny, that you mentioned that you don't feel judged by me whenever my sun is in Virgo, which I think the rest of my chart really helps balance that out a lot. But my sun is in Virgo, which is very much so a very judgmental sign, and I can be a very judgmental person sometimes. So I think that that's just like kind of funny, but like whenever you find your people, like it doesn't mean that like astrology is the end all be all, that you might have those tendencies, but when you find your people, you're going to care for them and not have those traits like blast onto them. We just want what's
yeah,
best for each other, and I call you out whenever I know you're not being your best self.
exactly. And best believe I was definitely scared of Elle in the beginning because she had a very not scary demeanor, but it was her demeanor was very like I'm better than everyone else. But while she is better than a lot of people, I will admit that. I don't think she does it intentionally. It's just part of who she is because she knows the best
I'm just
solution for
very
everything.
serious too. Like
Yeah,
I
your
have a
Scorpio
series.
moon has a very serious effect on you. But yeah, with my Taurus moon, we kind of match each other's vibes. So that's why we're soul sisters. But let's not get too derailed because we could talk about our friendship all the time.
Oh yeah.
Let's go to Capricorn Lilith, where I'm now judging Elle's placement. So those with Lilith and Capricorn feel ashamed of their ambitious nature. You view the urge to want to excel and succeed in terms of worldly goals and desires as wrong. You tend to avoid those who are business minded, status conscious, or materialistic, and you find it difficult to connect with your own ambitions as well as find an appreciation for the ambitions of others. That's a lot, but also very true. You probably tend to stay away. So, as far as what you should wear, you probably tend to stay away from things that make you look like you're in power or in charge. Try adding some blazers to your wardrobe or more business casual outfits. Dressing for success will always help you heal your Lilith. So, celebs with these placements include Keanu Reeves, David Bowie, Robert Downey Jr., Arnold Schwarzenegger, Victoria Beckham, Anne Hathaway, Tom Hanks, Louis Tomlinson, Tyra Banks, and Kate Moss. Oh, Louis Tomlinson, I used to love One Direction, so but as far as I can see Elle struggle with this a lot. There weren't many times in college where I ever really saw Elle in business attire outside of sorority meetings and maybe her honors thesis. But yeah, I feel like Elle, especially in college, struggled a lot with being ambitious versus like knowing what you have to do. Because Elle was very involved from the beginning. Like I knew Elle, we had orientation together, so I knew her from the very beginning of our college career. But it wasn't until her senior year when she got ambitious enough to have her own business. Well, actually, that's a junior year, I think. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
It was
Junior
2020.
year. Yeah. So it wasn't until junior year when she decided she was going to have her own business that I really saw her ambitious side because she had a full course load being in the honors program and having to write a thesis, but still managed to hold her business, go to Lunar Fair a couple times a week, and have long freaking days. You
Yeah.
know,
I did two
so
lunar fairs a month. I was full class
she was
schedule.
all over the place.
I worked in our student union building. I ran things on campus. It was a crazy time. Um,
Yeah,
but I think even now, it's not even like I've done a lot of healing whenever it comes to my Lilith sign, I think by being a business owner, because that's something that I think Capricorn and Lilith people like really kind of tend to shy away from. But I think even now, I still have like this ultimate fear that I'm like gonna fail. And it is partially contributed to that, but I think it's also partially contributed to the fact that like whenever I started my business, a lot of people had said to me like, "Oh, well, most businesses fail in like the first 1, 3, 5, or 10 years. Like you need to be prepared for that. Like you're never gonna make it." And I think that just like kind of wired my brain to be like, you know what? I'm not failing. I will do this and I will do it if it is the last thing I do. So I think that like that almost like kind of triggered me to heal this part of my Lilith, but I do still time like from time to time have things where like I get a lot of anxiety about whether something's going to be successful. I get stressed out every time I go to a market because I have a goal set for myself of what I want to make there, and if I don't get close to it, then I get really upset with myself. But also this year the economy has been awful when it comes to markets because people aren't spending as much money. So that's a whole other TED talk for another time. But I
yeah.
think that like it definitely very much so comes. But I hate wearing business attire. I absolutely loathe it. I no thank you. I will keep my hippie pants and my t-shirts.
Meanwhile, I thrive with business attire. I love dressing up. It's my Capricorn Venus. So we're very alike, but very different in the same way. So second to last is Aquarius Lilith.
Okay, so what Aquarius Lilith struggles with is feeling ashamed or for wanting to fit in or be a part of a group. You may feel the urge to branch out and try something new or different, but then always snuff out those feelings of going against the status quo. You are drawn to things that are unique and interesting, but tend to not let yourself actually enjoy them. You're kind of afraid to be weird. You're afraid to be different. And I mean weird in a good way, because like I consider myself witchy and weird. Like you're afraid to be off the beaten path. So what you should wear in terms of fashion, you try to stay away from wearing clothes that are different or unique. You want to blend in, even if you are always buying new clothes that you find fun and interesting, you probably never let them see anything besides the inside of your closet. Allowing yourself to buy these clothes is a good first step, but challenge yourself to even go further by actually taking them out of your closet and wearing them. Allow yourself to be different. You can still be a part of something without being a carbon copy of everyone else. And I think that's what Aquarius Lilith really needs to, you know, practice and figure out. So some celebs with this are Selena Gomez, Amy Winehouse, Zayn Malik, Mila Kunis, Cardi B, Chris Hemsworth, Cindy Crawford, Andrew Garfield, Taylor Lautner, and Mac Miller.
It's interesting for me to see Selena Gomez and Zayn Malik on that list, considering how conservative I see them as, because they're both celebrities I follow. But I feel like for Selena Gomez, it's more about the edgier outfits that she tends to wear. Like you'll see her sometimes in like leather or something that's tight, and I feel like for her, that's out of her comfort zone. Because I always think of Selena as someone who's very like sweet, Cancer. She gives Cancer vibes, but obviously she has Leo placements and a Leo Venus, if I remember correctly. But same with Zayn Malik. I feel like everyone knows his story with One Direction and how he was the outlier basically and how he branched off. But I never really remember him with like edgy stuff. Like you might see him in a leather jacket and maybe some bright pants, but it was never like too extreme. But that's just me. And also Mac Miller being mentioned, love that. Rest in peace, Mac.
I love Mac.
Me too. Last but not least, it's Pisces Lilith. So those with Lilith and Pisces struggle with embracing their compassionate nature and spiritual sides. You are afraid as coming off as needy or weak, so you tend to overcorrect by projecting a persona that's very stoic and strong. So, since you tend to reject the softer side of yourself, you may tend to reject more romantic and girly styles. Embrace the more feminine colors like purples and pinks and adding some florals to your wardrobe, or romantic and flowy items that you may tend to shy away from. So this might be flowy pants and bohemian styles. Finding that inner feminine side will help heal your Lilith. So celebs with these signs include Angelina Jolie, Madonna, Leonardo DiCaprio, Miley Cyrus, Harry Styles, Ariana Grande, Billie Eilish, David Beckham, Demi Lovato, and Khloe Kardashian. I feel like Harry Styles is very different because he's always wearing crazy cool stuff. Like it's not even weird. I think he's like a modern day like Freddie Mercury.
I was just gonna say that, like, he very much so gives those vibes. But I think you can see, like, even within like the last couple years, he went from like that boy band kind of, persona with One
Mm-hmm.
Direction and has really come into himself. And he does wear like a lot of flowy pants and
Yeah.
florals and things like that. So it's kind of like interesting to see that, like, he has that change of personality, and it's almost like it's been very healing for him to kind of embrace that like softer side when it comes to fashion.
Yeah. I feel like you can also see it in the music that he has
Mhm.
because he in One Direction he was seen as the heartbreaker. I would only know this because I loved One Direction, was absolutely obsessed, but he was seen as the heartbreaker, boy next door kind of guy. But in his post One Direction albums, especially his second one, I believe I forget the name of it, but that's the one Watermelon Sugar came off. I feel like especially as you listen to his latest albums, you can see he's kind of getting more in touch with his Lilith, basically, in his more like lovey-dovey side.
Do you want to know who surprises me on this list?
Who?
Billie Eilish.
You know what? I was just thinking that because Billie Eilish, like,
Her music
she's,
can be very soft, but there is like a certain amount of angst to it in a lot of it. So it's kind of like
yeah,
she really doesn't dress like this at all. Like,
yeah, you see her as like tomboy vibes. I mean, she's definitely uh, embracing her body more. Like she's a beautiful girl, but I feel like she kind of put her persona of like I'm that tomboy, like
mhm.
I hang with the boys. But like you listen to her music and you're like, no way, this is Billie Eilish. Like this is the same girl that we see wearing hoodies and oversized t-shirts, So yeah, we're getting too off topic, so let's bring it back to our astrology almanac with Elle.
Today, the moon in Aquarius is sextile Mercury in Sagittarius. Communication is strong during this time. You should be trying to research, learn, and share knowledge with others. Tomorrow, we have a first quarter moon in Aquarius. It's time to make changes and adjust your plans. The more unconventional route may be what is best for you. Then on the 11th, Venus will enter Capricorn. This is a time to take commitment more seriously and to be practical with your connections with others. Rounding out the week, the moon in Taurus will trine with Venus in Capricorn, making work with others easier.
That's crazy because the moon in Taurus and Venus in Capricorn, those are two of my placements. So I expect that during that time, I should be having the time of my life. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, let's get right into tarot time. I wonder what the cards are going to say for the end of the year. Hopefully something positive.
No freaking way. The 10 of Cups.
Oh, that's a beautiful message. I love that for us.
November is going to be such a good month, guys. I can feel it. The astrology is here for it, at least the beginning of November. So the 10 of Cups is the, you know, idea of full happiness and emotional fulfillment. It's the house on the hill with the white picket fence and the dog and the kids in the yard of the minivan, like that idea of the all-American family happiness. Now that doesn't mean that's what you want, obviously, but it's very much so like whatever you have been working for to feel fulfilled is finally coming to you. You may have a very loving relationship and loving partner. That commitment may be coming with Venus and Capricorn. You may really just kind of be feeling like you are on the right path and everything is working out for you.
Snaps to that. Snaps to that. That sounds like a great. So this is November, right?
Yep.
What's good for the holiday season as it approaches us. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Sister Sister. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that bell button so you know when the next episode drops. And maybe follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you tend to listen to the audio of our show. Anyway, have a great rest of your week.